Welcome back to Live Open Daily, coming to you live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, going through all the news that's fit to print in the VR, AR, MR world. I'm your host, Live Open Mike, and this episode is going to be pretty much all Quest focused. I'm trying to cover all different platforms, but this one, just with the number of stories that I had, pretty much focused on the Meta Quest platform. Start with some news that broke yesterday. It was announced that Hitman 3 VR will be rebuilt for the Meta Quest 3. This is in collaboration with IO Interactive and XR Games. I'm going to read the game press release. Rebuilt from the ground up for VR, Hitman 3 VR Reloaded marks a significant milestone in the Hitman series by leveraging the power of MetaQuest 3 to deliver a truly immersive, untethered VR experience. Bringing dual wielding to the series for the first time, increased interactivity, a completely overhauled user interface, and enhanced movement mechanics, Hitman 3 VR Reloaded delivers an incredible Hitman VR experience for Hitman veterans and new players alike. Key features of Hitman 3 VR Reloaded include dual wielding, the series' first. Hitman 3 VR Reloaded introduces dual wielding, allowing players to use two weapons or items simultaneously, adding a new dimension to strategic gameplay. A brand new cel-shaded art style, see Agent 47 in a new light with stunning new cel-shaded visual style, enhanced interactivity, experience a new level of realism with interactive environments that respond to every action. Overhaul user interface, Hitman 3's UI has been completely redesigned for VR, ensuring intuitive control and navigation. Improved movement options, Hitman 3 VR Reloaded now offers fluid and natural locomotion options, making it easier than ever to navigate complex environments with speed and stealth. Many more improvements throughout, from visual enhancements to refined gameplay mechanics. This is the most immersive, untethered Hitman VR experience to date. And there's a statement from Bobby Dandy, the founder and CEO of XR Games. We're excited to partner with IO Interactive to bring Hitman 3 VR Reloaded to life on the MetaQuest 3. Our teams have worked tirelessly to bring this huge AAA franchise to VR. We knew the Hitman audience demanded the absolute best VR experience, and only the MetaQuest 3 could power such large environments, dense crowds, and emergent sandbox gameplay. With dual wielding, a stunning new art style, new features, and improvements, we believe Hitman 3 VR Reloaded will set a new standard for bringing AAA franchises to MetaQuest. Hitman 3 VR Reloaded will be available exclusively on MetaQuest 3, and then it goes into some more detail about XR Games and IO Interactive. First, if you're not familiar with XR Games, they are working with Rebellion to bring the Rebellion's franchise Zombie Army into VR. So we're going to get Zombie Army VR sometime later on this year. They also worked with CodeSync on Jurassic World Aftermath. I think they worked on the PSVR 2 port of that game, from what I understand, which I'm told is excellent. Aftermath's actually a really good game, period. They also partnered with CodeSync on their other game, Shadowpoint, bringing that to PSVR. Probably their best known work is Zombieland VR Headshot Fever. If you're not familiar with the background on Hitman 3 VR, it was released on the PlayStation VR 1 and on PC VR. For PlayStation VR 1, you had to buy the PlayStation 4 version of the game, and you could not play it with the PSVR 1 move sticks. You had to use a DualShock 4 controller, which inherently limited how many VR interactions you could have. So you were doing stuff like hitting triangle to open the door, as opposed to reaching out and opening that yourself. The PC VR version of the game actually won Steam's VR Game of the Year for 2022. Despite having pretty bad reviews, it's actually mostly negative if you look at Steam right now, and it's been said to have a litany of issues. I personally never played the PC VR version, so I can't speak to that, just kind of going off of what I see on the Steam page. I love the fact that this is being rebuilt specifically for VR. When they talk about VR interactions, it's going to be things like being able to open the door with your hands, manual reloads, things like that, as opposed to hitting the button to do everything. Things like that tend to be a bit immersion breaking for people who've been in VR for a while. Just think about button reloads at games like Solaris Off-World Combat or Firewall that really just pissed off a lot of the community because want to be able to have control over what they were actually doing. And anytime a game comes out that doesn't have VR interactions, that's usually one of the first things that players talk about. And the cell shading I'm really excited about too. I said this yesterday's podcast when I was talking about Sweet Surrender. I think cell shading looks fantastic in the headset. Anything from Sweet Surrender, the two Petergrad games, Jurassic World Aftermath. That's just a great visual style that they really pops in VR if you get the color and the contrast right. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that. Having said that, when you watch the trailer, if you watch the trailer, it's more cinematic. I'll put the video up here for anyone who's watching the video version of this podcast. It's very cinematic. You're doing a walkthrough. You're basically trailing behind Agent 47 as they walk up to a door. The door opens and then it seems to open into a VR environment. And what I saw didn't look cel shaded. It might have been early alpha footage or pre-alpha footage, something like that. And that might not be the fully realized version of the game. We'll see when it comes out. The other line that stood out to me the most, and I think this is going to be, I don't want to use the phrase triggering, but triggering for people who are on other platforms. This line from the CEO here, Only the Meta Quest 3 could power such large environments, dense crowds, and emergent sandbox gameplay. I don't think anyone who owns a Quest 3 is going to argue that it is the most powerful headset available right now. I think PSVR 2 and the capabilities of a decent rig for PCVR are both miles above that in terms of power. So that line was a little bit jarring to read, but I think he was trying to emphasize that they couldn't do this on Meta Quest 2. This is now I'm pretty sure this is the third Meta Quest 3 exclusive title we've learned about that won't be on Quest 2 or Quest Pro after Batman VR and the Aliens game from Survios. So I want to say, and given the benefit of the doubt, that he meant that it couldn't be powered on a lesser generation standalone headset. But again, if you read that, and if you're a PSVR 2 fan or a PCVR fan, you can't help but probably be a little bit insulted by that. Overall, though, I'm pretty excited. This is another huge franchise coming to VR, and when you're rebuilding it with full VR mechanics as opposed to like button presses to open doors, it's going to make for a much more immersive experience. I'm really looking forward to trying this out. Next topic is App Lab. Meta announced a few weeks ago that they were going to work on integrating games on App Lab into the main Meta store. If you're not familiar with App Lab, it's essentially early access games, is how Meta kind of phrases it. It's basically games that have not graduated to the full main Meta store for one reason or another. Maybe they need to build a community, maybe it just needs more work to be the fully realized version of the game. But App Lab games, if you search for them on the main Meta store, you had to spell the name of the game exactly right, and then your search results wouldn't actually hit the game. It would hit every game on the main Meta store that's close to that. You had to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there was a little button there that said App Lab, view App Lab results. You would click on that, and it would give you a pop-up basically saying that these are experimental games. These are games that have not been fully vetted by Meta, kind of like a caveat and a warning to players that the game may not be fully ready to go. And then you'd be able to look at the game and decide if you wanted to buy it for yourself. This created a pretty bad barrier of entry for developers who are on App Lab. There's about 600 games on the main Meta store now. There's over 2,000 on App Lab and another 5,000 or so on SideQuest itself. So Meta making moves to kind of bridge the gap between those two, I think is huge, but we were waiting to see what exactly they would do. In the last few weeks, if you go to the main Meta store now on PC, just below the search bar, I'm looking at an image right now, I'll put it up on the screen. Just below the search bar, right next to where your wish list is, there's a button that says App Lab that takes you to basically a whole other section of the store. There's also a massive banner and a rotating banner at the top of the page that reads, Step in the App Lab, try experimental apps and games still in development. Again, if you click on that, it takes you to what is essentially a whole separate store. Popping over to that store, I'm going to put another image up for the people who are watching on video. Again, looks just like the main Meta store. There's a giant rotating banner of releases that they're trying to feature. You can scroll through that. There's a browse all feature to go through every single game that's been released with sorting options. And then there's some individualized categories like enter the game zone, sports games, shooters, things like that. So you can kind of narrow down what you're looking for. This is a really good thing, and I'm happy this exists. My only caveat to this, and this isn't really specific with App Lab, it's more the main Meta store in general. I did a video on my YouTube channel a few months ago about my problems with the main Meta store, and it kind of carried over to this version. This is almost impossible to search because you don't really have filtering options. The sorting options, like sorting by release date, don't really work. If you sort by price, you're going to end up getting a bunch of games that are listed as coming soon first. So you can't narrow down between games that are coming soon and games that are already released. Basically, it's very hard to search through the main Meta store. This includes this new App Lab version, and App Lab is much, much bigger than the main Meta store. So now you're trying to sort through thousands of games as opposed to a few hundred games with these same sorting options. So I'm glad this exists, but I really hope that Meta gets around to fixing the indexing on the store and all the other issues that have been well documented about the browsing experience and the buying experience on the main Meta store, because frankly, it sucks. And I really hope it gets better. I'll leave a link to the video I made on my YouTube channel in the show notes here so you can check that out for yourself. I'm not going to get to all of my issues with it here because that video is pretty long. But yeah, this is a really good thing. I just hope they continue to evolve the store and make it a better user experience. The Quest Plus subscription system has now been updated for June. If you're not familiar with that, it's a $7.99 monthly subscription to what used to just be 2 games on the main Meta store. You would get them for free as long as you were subscribed to the service and be able to try them out. A couple of months ago, Meta actually updated this program, so it wasn't just the 2 games, but now you're actually getting a full games catalog because they're going to rotate other games through on I'm not going to say it's a monthly basis because some of these have been here for a while, but essentially you're getting the 2 games free that are only available that month, and then the games catalog changes on a semi-frequent basis. This month, the games are Warhammer 40,000 Battle Sister. It's a story-based shooter taking place in the Warhammer universe. I actually like this game. I grew up playing story-based shooters. I think a lot of people might have played GoldenEye who are around my age. And then there's like Perfect Dark, there's the Turok series, the Metroid Prime series. Warhammer's not quite on that level, but the weapons feel really good. The set design and the characters look really good. Like seeing a Space Marine in person in front of you, because you play as a battle sister, so you're not the tallest person in the world. And then the Space Marine comes in 7 feet tall with all this armor on, just looks fantastic in VR. The story's pretty decent. The enemies are okay. You get a sword that basically functions as a lightsaber. You can block bullets with it and decapitate enemies with it. Overall, the game's a lot of fun. Definitely check it out. The other game is Stride. This is not Stride Face, the new story-based game that came out last year. Originally, Stride Face, the game that came out last year, was supposed to be integrated into this version. The developers, Joyway, said they were going to release a full story campaign for it, and then later spun it off into Stride Fates. When they put out the first version of the campaign, players were pretty upset because the campaign was maybe like an hour long or something like that, and it really wasn't what players were looking for. Joyway later doubled back and said they were going to make a completely separate game for this. If you've never played the original Stride game, it's actually pretty fun for what it is. If you're into locomotion movement and really using your arms to move around, pumping your arms to run faster, being able to grab on the ledges and stuff like that, it's a very physical game in tune with stuff like the Climb and Bone Lab. So worth your time checking out, especially if you have Quest Plus, because you're paying for it, so why not play it? As far as the game's catalog, I already had downloaded all the games that were available. I'm just going to read the list that's available right now. The new game that came in this month was Green Hell VR. You also can get Walkabout Mini Golf. You can also get Walkabout Mini Golf, Onward, The Climb 1, Until You Fall, Jurassic World Aftermath, Fruit Ninja 1, Sports Scramble, Hand Physics Lab, A Township Tale, Demio, Red Matter 1, Aspire 1, 2MD VR Football Unleashed, and Tetris Effect. So that is, I'm just doing the math right here, that's 15 games that are available right now, in addition to the 2 monthly rotation games. For $7.99, that's a heck of a deal. I still don't think this is a good value for people who have been in Quest for a while and probably own a lot of these games. Like I owned pretty much all these games already, but I had never played The Climb before. I haven't played Green Hell VR, so I'm looking forward to checking those out. But for people who might have just gotten a Quest and are looking to try out games without having to spend a ton of money, this now offers a ton of value than before when it was just 2 games. On top of that, Meta is also offering discounts for select games if you have a Quest Plus subscription. Like I'm looking at a graphic right now that says Cybrix is 16% off. Like I'm looking at a graphic right now that says Cybrix is 16% off. You get it for $12.50 as opposed to $15. Cybrix is a futuristic looking racquetball game. So there's a lot of value to be had here. Again, if you have a large game library already, I don't think this offers a ton of value for you. But if you're someone who just got a Quest recently, or you know someone got a Quest recently, for $8 a month, this is a pretty good deal. To close things out, there were several games that got new updates recently, and I wanted to run through a bunch of these real quick. Most games don't tend to get the same coverage for updates as they do when they first release, so I wanted to shine some spotlight on these in as many podcasts as I can. We did a couple yesterday. Let's start with Medieval Dynasty New Settlement. This is a sandbox role-playing and survival game where you build like farm plots, pigsties, hen houses, and you can recruit people to come into your town to work for you, and you're basically trying to build up a full-on medieval settlement from nothing. I don't know what it was about this game that grabbed me, but I put like 50 hours into this game when I finally got my hands on it, and I think it's really, really solid. The latest patch is 1.2. I'm just going to read through the notes from their Discord. Update highlights, we've added worker houses. Before this patch, if you hired workers to work on your farm plots or your hunting lodges and other places for you, when nightfall came, they would just kind of wander around aimlessly. They might go sit behind the house and not do anything. And it was just a bit merging breaking that you didn't really know what they were doing. You could build additional houses in your town settlement, but they never actually did anything with them. Now they've added worker houses, so you can build accommodations for your workers, and you can assign up to 2 people per house. And if you do this, then you actually don't have to pay your workers anymore. Basically, you're paying for their housing, so they don't cost you money. That's a huge thing because you actually have to pay taxes on the number of buildings that you own, and it ends up money management becomes a bit of a problem. So really happy to see that in there. In a previous patch, they updated the number of workers you could hire from 10 to 20. That allows you to build bigger towns without having to do all the work yourself. Other highlight, the tavern building mechanic got a revamp by introducing a new mini game where you can host clients and serve them delicious meals. With a leveling system included, it's a much more profitable way for selling your home cooked meals. So in this game, you can make different stews to keep your hunger down. And the tavern is a spot where before all you would do was just take flour and make bread, and then you could resell bread to bring in money to fuel your town. Now they've introduced this mini game where your settlers will come in and there'll be a little icon on their table that will ask what kind of meal they actually want. It could be like vegetable soup, a beef stew, mushroom stew, stuff like that. And you go over to your pot, you make that, set it in front of them, and they just leave money down. You're basically running a little restaurant. It's a nice way to earn money very quickly without having to walk to another town to sell your goods. and just another new wrinkle to the game. Last point was decorating other buildings. You could buy decorations for your actual house, but you couldn't decorate like your hunter's lodges or your wood lodges or anything like that. They've now updated that and added more decorations. It's a pretty good patch. I'm actually waiting for the Quest 3 texture pack that's supposed to be out later on this year. It's on their roadmap. But if you haven't checked out Medieval Dynasty, it's not one of those like really hardcore survival games in the realm of something like Green Hell or Song in the Smoke. Nothing against those games. I'm actually playing Song in the Smoke now and I'm really liking it. It's a much more chill experience. There are animals and bandits that can hurt you, but it's more about building up your town and doing more of the simulation part of it as opposed to the survival part of it. They've also added some new side quests, and they have been diligent. If you go through their Discord, they have fixed hundreds and hundreds of bugs that they found in the game. They've been really listening to player feedback, so they're growing the game the right way. They're listening to the community. They're getting feedback. They're listening to the bugs and suggestions, and they're trying to work as much stuff into the game as possible to get it as close to the flat screen equivalent as they can. There's a lot of limitations because this is on standalone VR, so you couldn't get the full flat screen version of the game, which is way, way more expensive than what they're doing here. But they're adding little things bit by bit. Next update is for X8. X8 is a 5v5 hero shooter from Thirdverse. You'll know Thirdverse from games like Swords of Gargantua, Altair Breaker, and their most recent game came out a few months ago was Soul Covenant, a JRPG styled arena brawler. Looking at press release, Thirdverse, a leading VR development studio and publisher, launched the release of the 5th major update called the Free Play Park Update to its popular 5v5 VR multiplayer hero shooter X8. They're talking about over 500,000 downloads. Skip through that. New features, Free Play Park. This new park area is the player's social hub in X8, offering a place to hang out, meet new friends, and form custom games. Players can engage in various activities, including learning and teaching game mechanics, participating in minigames such as time attack climbing challenges, knife throwing, and a shooting range, or practicing in the combat arena. Streamline friend adding, simplify process for adding friends in game with a single click from the team menu, making it easier to build an in-game community. Splat tags, adding a splash of color and personalization to gameplay. Splat tags are digital slime balls that allow players to leave custom stickers in the environment. These can be purchased in the X8 store or unlocked through the event calendar. Introducing the Monarch, a high-skill, semi-automatic weapon perfect for mid-spin rounds. It offers exciting possibilities to invest in armor or abilities. Introducing Threat Levels, a pseudo-ranked game mode for demolition. Perform well and win games to increase threat rating, represented by a badge in the main menu showcasing your skills. In the weapon recoil and sound overhaul, in response to player feedback, Thirdverse has completely revamped the weapon and sound systems, offering a refreshed experience for veteran players and a better first impression for newcomers. And lastly, enhanced matchmaking skills ensures that players are ready before joining the game, preventing AFK disruptions. This system ties into the new threat levels feature, creating a more competitive and balanced gaming experience. If you're looking for hero shooters on the Meta Quest, really your options are this one and a game called Larcenauts that wasn't as well received. Larcenauts had a lot of problems pre-release that was detailed by multiple content creators who got early access to it, and the game sadly was pretty much dead on arrival when it first came out. If you're someone who likes games like Overwatch and you're looking for that same kind of hero shooter flavor in VR, give X8 a run. Again, it's free to play, so it's not going to hurt anything to download and check it out. If you've been living under a rock and you don't know what Beat Saber is, it is a rhythm game where you slash corresponding color blocks with two sabers in your left and right hand. The game has been insanely popular since its release 6 years ago now. It was dropped in 2018. Aside from paid DLC from popular artists like Lizzo, The Weeknd, Lady Gaga, Queen, the game has also gotten free OST updates. The latest one is OST 7 that just dropped yesterday. It has 5 new tracks. They also added a new arena here. OST 7 comes with a brand new environment called Collider, which builds on the latest lighting tech that was first introduced in a Daft Punk music pack. The team also expanded on laser physics, so in addition to colliding, lasers can now also reflect from certain surfaces even multiple times. That adds up to more breathtaking light shows and effects moving forward. OST 7 is available on all Quest headsets, but this is also, I shall point out, the last one that is being released for Quest 1. Meta previously announced that they're ending Quest 1 support. They're finally sunsetting that headset. They've already gone through the process of disabling multiplayer for Beat Saber. So if you have a Quest 1, you can't play with anyone who has a Quest 2 or a Quest Pro or a Quest 3. And now in this latest music pack, it's basically Quest 1's swan song. If you have a Quest 1 and you still game on standalone and you were hesitant about updating, you really should probably think about that now. If you're just using it for PC VR, that's a different case. But if you care about standalone, pretty much every game is going to stop Quest 1 support if they haven't already. That whole process started last year with a lot of games already ending Quest 1 support. Having said that, OST 7 is available as a free download now. It probably already updated to your headset as you're listening to this podcast. Last one is for Espire 1. Espire 1 is actually on Quest Plus right now, so if you haven't played the game before and you have a Quest Plus subscription, go ahead and grab this. There's a new DLC available for this game. Read through the press release. We spent the last few months creating our first ever paid DLC since we launched Eastspire 1 back in 2019. While making this DLC, we made various improvements to enemy AI and some core game mechanics, which we shipped for free as part of update 1.12. Introducing the Sydney Sneakabouts DLC. Deploy Aspire Model 1 on 10 thrilling stealth action missions in the Sydney Sneakabouts DLC. Copperhead has established 2 curved outposts right in the heart of Sydney's bustling CBD. Infiltrate these fortified bases, uncover the Copperhead organization's sinister plans, and sabotage their operations. The Sydney Sneakabouts DLC features 2 new sprawling environments and adds 10 new missions to Eastspire 1's Virtual Challenges game mode. These 10 missions offer variety, catering to fans of the stealth or all guns blazing approaches. This pack will also appeal to expert Aspire VR operatives. 2 of these missions are the hardest Aspire 1 missions ever made. We are also shipping a free 1.12 update on the same day as the paid DLC. The free update includes many AI and game improvements that have been made to Aspire 1 while creating the Sydney Sneakabouts DLC. And there's a bunch of different AI improvements that they list here. This list is pretty long, so I'm not going to read through all this. They also in this update bumped the render resolution of the main menu. This game previously got a Quest 3 bump, bringing up the render resolution and the refresh rate of that game up to Quest 3 standards. This game was originally built and optimized for Quest 1, so like something like Saints and Sinners, going from a Quest 1 build to a Quest 3 build, there's a night and day difference in like enemy textures, lighting, things like that. Aspire 1 is available on Quest, on PC VR, and on PlayStation VR 1. At the time of this recording, I don't see the Sydney Sneakabouts DLC on Steam's page. I'm looking at it right now. The regular price for it is $20, and the DLC is $4.99 if you have it on Quest. That is a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for checking it out. If you want to support, you already know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends. Catch you on Twitch. I stream VR there 2 days a week, every Tuesday and Thursday night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.